Hey, it's Dan. I know it's late. I got a late start to my day because I was in pain for most of my day, and then I had to go buy more painkillers. And to be clear, this is the stuff I'm using, and it's not cheap. It's called Opia. I'm not proud of it, but I need it because doctors are afraid to prescribe things that I need, like oxycodone, uh, because of the overdoses and because there have been so many deaths linked to these very powerful drugs, because people misuse them, because they are addictive. I mean, drugs are at best a temporary solution in almost any situation, and I need surgery. I can't say that with 100% certainty, but I am 80% certain that I know I need the surgery that I've been saying for a while, which generally is on the muscles surrounding my spine and shoulder. More specifically, is the rotator cuff, and I think probably the trapezius. So we're talking at least once surgery, probably two that I would bet money on I'm going to need. And part of the problem is that I can't get my medical records from California and pick them up in person. I don't have the money to go to California, and frankly, it's a big trip and it's painful, and I also fucking hate California, so I don't want to go back there. And nobody can do it for me because there's all this red tape in terms of who's allowed to pick up medical records and who is not. You'd think a service like, I'm just being real here. You'd think, social workers or a group like Jewish Family Services would help me out. Jewish Family Services wants nothing to do with me. Um, they've made that clear over the last 2 years. And I'm not going to fault anyone in particular because I was hit. Like, all of this is a result of me being hit by a car, right? Which some people find hard to believe that 8 years later I'd still be in pain. I'm going to be in pain the rest of my life as a result of this. Now, whether it's crippling, debilitating pain or manageable pain, depends on a number of factors, some of which, frankly, I should be doing a better job of controlling. Like, I should be getting more exercise, I should quit some cigarettes. But life is messy and complicated, and I'm stressed out of my fucking mind, and I have no support system, and I think it's like, I'm sure there's some sort of psychological term for this. I keep thinking of Kitty Genovese, where it's like so many people have eyes on a very serious situation, but then they just decide, oh, well, this is so serious, someone else will take care of it. Nobody's taking care of me. Nobody's helping me. I'm in pain a lot of time. Like, a lot of the time, there are different solutions out there, but the healthcare system is so broken. I don't have the money for healthcare. I don't have the ACA is not really insurance. It's not getting me hooked up with the appointments that I need, even if I am able to find a doctor who is in network. The wait lists are insane. For example, I had my MRI on that whole area in my back and my shoulder last week and an x-ray. Oh, fuck. I don't know if you heard that crack. I had that. Okay, that I was approved for Medicaid in either late January or early February, and it took until last week to get the MRI. Now I'm gonna have my PCP explain the MRI results to me tomorrow. But the person who's in charge, who ordered the MRI, was a physiatrist, which is a typist pain specialist, and they need to officially interpret the results and then decide to order surgery. And that appointment, which would not be considered an emergency, is not for another month and 4 days. It's not until May 19th. So I know that I'm going to be on these fucking painkillers for at least another 35 days. That concerns me, and it also concerns my bank account. I mean, also, it's like over the counter opioids. It's like not a good thing. It's being outlawed, which on one hand I understand, and on the other hand, it's like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do? Because that could potentially mean that the next 35 days are physical torture for me inside my prison of a body where I'm in so much pain I can't even feel pleasure, which is why I don't like doing anything or go anywhere. Because I just don't enjoy life because I'm in so much physical pain all the time. I'm going to my physical therapist and my occupational therapist regularly. I'm putting in a lot of work, especially when I do occupational therapy. It's not easy, it's exhausting. I usually sleep somewhere between 10 and 14 hours after any given occupational therapy session. I'm like zonked. I'm wiped out afterwards. Now my sleep pattern's all fucked up. I'm also in a lot of pain when I wake up after a physical or occupational therapy session. And also, we've had rainy weather the last couple of weeks. When it gets particularly cold or damp, or when the weather changes very suddenly by like 20 degrees, either warmer or colder, yeah, any of these things just increases the pain by an absurd amount. I know a lot of that is that's really dense and a lot of information to take in, and there's really no interesting or engaging way of explaining it. Uh, and there's really no simple way of explaining it other than, again, I need help. That is not a general statement like I could use your assistance. And by you, I mean whoever is watching. If you are in New York City, if you are in New Jersey, if you are a family member of mine, if you are a friend of mine, I could use your fucking help. Okay? Anything from rubbing my shoulder, which I realize is pretty intimate, and frankly, I only trust women with that. And yeah, it's awkward no matter what, but there's nothing I can do about it. Like, someone needs to rub my shoulder. To calling insurance companies, to filling out my calendar, helping me work my phone, helping me with transcription, helping me. Like I again, took a lot of painkillers today. I was able to write things down. Right now, I have to focus on this obscene thing that my dad is doing. Also, he's not just, my dad is my enemy. I'm not sure whether I hate him. I spent a lot of time today thinking about that, whether I genuinely hate him. I probably shouldn't be showing this because there's some very sensitive information on there, but that's a temporary extreme risk protective order sought by and granted to my father. The petitioner, having filed a petition for an extreme risk protective order in the court, having conducted an ex parte hearing and having considered the certified petition and or testimony of Wardell Police Department, and or any document provided to the court, and also having considered whether the respondent has any history of threats or acts of violence by the respondent directed towards self or others. The father stated that there have been suicidal threats. No, that's bullshit. Made by Daniel in the recent past. In addition, Daniel is fascinated and supportive of the acts of violence against the Jewish community members in the Middle East. My father is so full of shit. He's 262 Help advised that Daniel also made a statement. I don't know who 262 Help is. I don't know if that's my dad. Also made a statement of burning down a synagogue. That's very general and vague. I did have those thoughts in the past. But we're talking more than a year ago. And then, get this, when Daniel was 15, he made a threat towards a teacher that was. That's not true. That's not true. He made a threat towards a teacher at Riverville High School. River Edge PD advised for Daniel to attend a facility in New York named Four Winds for psychiatric help. Yeah, that ruined my fucking life. I would consider that one of the 4 or 5 most traumatic things that's ever happened to me in my life. It happened to me when I was 15 years old. They treated me like I was a mass murderer. It was beyond fucked up. I haven't really talked about what happened in high school. Again, there's a memoir I'd like to write when my arm functions well enough for me to write about this. But if you were to just like read this and you didn't know anything about me, you'd think I am like the worst person in the world and going to kill a bunch of people. You would think that based off what is here. And that's not true. Half the shit that's in here isn't true. I want to live. I'm one of the most responsible people I know. I'm one of the most resilient people that I know. I went into the police office to get this documentation. And the other thing that I realized I could do in the police office was speak with someone about my political ambitions and how I wanted to ultimately become a congressman. So after I asked for the temporary streamers protective order to be printed so that I could work on a statement that I'm going to present to the judge, because there's a court case on Thursday, then I asked if there was someone I could talk to about joining Wardell's board of trustees or council, their town government, borough government. Excuse me, it's a borough, it's not a town. Because one of my main goals in life is to become a congressperson, and my main focus and issue would be to finally get universal health care for the United States, because we fucking need it. It's embarrassing how bad our healthcare system is. And so yeah, if this is on Thursday, if this is passed, which I think really it depends on the judge that I get, but if it's passed, my Second Amendment right is taken away from me. I'll never be able to own a gun. And it's less, even though like I do want to own a gun at some point in my life, it's less about that specific consequence and more about the fact that my father is focusing on lying and reporting me to the police, and frankly all these personal matters with my mental health and things that I've been told are completely normal given the context of I got hit by a fucking car and was almost killed, and the driver literally drove away from the I was gonna say from the crime scene, but it's not considered a crime, it's considered an accident. The driver literally drove back to his $6 million house. I think the cops asked me one, maybe 2 questions, and did the same thing with the 18-year-old driver who hit me while I was in a crosswalk with the light. And I was given $75,000 as compensation for an arm that does not function properly and never will. And it's just assumed that justice was served. And it's like there was a videotape. There was a fucking videotape at the gas station of my crash that nobody retrieved. The cops didn't retrieve it. My lawyer, who got paid a fourth, who was just given a fourth of my settlement money, didn't bother to check. So after 2 weeks, which I spent recovering on that fucking couch with my arm in a sling, not functioning. My hand wasn't functioning at that point. My lawyer probably had his thumb up his ass because he didn't do a fucking thing to get that videotape. So there's no evidence. There's no video evidence. No, the street was completely crowded. Nobody was interviewed or questioned about what happened, and they just took the driver's word as gospel. And like his insurance premiums went up. That's the consequence for him. I never heard from him again. Nobody ever helped me. And then you have fucking, yeah, and there's no reason for me to even like, because I fell in love, frankly, with my social worker, which is not uncommon either. And she hates me for it, which I understand. But because of that, and because I was hit by a Hasidic Jewish driver, and I complained that Hasidic Jewish people are basically given special privileges by the police because they vote as a block. Like, look at the fucking 2025 New York State budget. They were allocated $500 million. $500 million. Okay? For these yeshivas, these alternative schools where Hebrew and Judaism are taught with much more emphasis than like there are no driver's education courses. There's basically nothing in these yeshivas that says, "Hey, you have civic responsibilities as an American, and we're going to teach you those responsibilities, and you have to uphold them because they're part of this American tapestry." Uh, and you are a piece of fabric that makes up this American tapestry, and there are obligations that you have, and you have to learn how to drive properly. You, I don't even think English, like they're not taught English as their first language. They're taught Hebrew. It's so fucked up, and it is so corrupt, and it's so deeply ingrained into like the Jewish community that it's what I'm saying right now. First of all, like nobody cares. It's boring, and I've just spoken for 20 minutes. But let's say four people watch this video, and they're all members of Jewish Family Services or rabbis or Hasidic Jews, or if those four people or the NYPD, and those four people show it to their respective, they share it within the other groups, well, they're going to punish me. They're going to punish me by making sure I don't get the health care that I need, by being apathetic towards me, by ghosting me, so never giving me a response, so I never really know what the status is of my health care. Of, I literally got a call. I asked Jewish Family Services for help. I'm really not sure what they did for me. I don't think they did anything. The ones on the West Coast, they wouldn't. uh, she just asked me if I was getting disability, which I'm still not getting disability, even though I've been medically certified as disabled for more than a year now. And on the East Coast, I asked them for help getting my West Coast medical records, and I still don't have those either. And then when eventually I just kept calling, like to the point where I knew I was being annoying, and they said you should ask I think like the head of the East Coast Jewish Family Services called me back, and like in a polite way, but like very like, I'm going to dismiss you. You have 90 seconds on this phone call in which I'm going to convey information, and I'm not really going to give you a chance to speak. Um, this woman just said like, you should ask Newbridge Medical Health for help getting your medical records, because we're not going to help you because we don't like what you have to say about this Siddim. So, to recap, not getting help from Jewish Family Services, not getting help from the Jewish community, not getting help from my family, okay? Not getting help from my friends. And again, I'm not completely innocent in this. I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it because this is like all my brain thinks about when I'm not in pain, which is like it's like that scene in My Cousin Vinny where she says, "My biological clock is ticking." My biological clock is like, "Hey, why aren't you a father right now?" And like, I want to be a father someday, but now it's not the time. And I'm trying not to focus on that, but there's something going off in my brain that's saying, like, spawn, which I think is like the sex term for salmon or fish. But anyway, so that's me just explaining the situation for the millionth time and how I'm not getting any help, and me, again, probably for the last time, saying, please fucking help me if you are not one of those, like, even if you are part of those fucking groups, like, why aren't you fucking helping me? Because I used the word kike? Like, because I told one of your social workers that I loved her. And that's the other thing about my friends, well, many of whom, well, I have a lot of beautiful female friends who are very smart and kind people. And I am totally, well, not totally okay with just being friends, but I've accepted that we're just going to be friends, and I'd rather have them in my life than them not be in my life. But especially last year when things got so bad that I was homeless and living out of my car for 3 months in California with half a functioning body, I thought I was going to die. And I kind of have this problem, sort of like a lot of comedians have, like Dave Chappelle has, like Jon Stewart has, where I kind of like need to tell the truth. I'm kind of addicted to the truth. And also, like I said, that biological thing where like something is saying inside my body, like it's time to be a dad. Like I was just thinking of my friends, and then I can't judge them for how they take the information, but like it's sort of like the elephant in the room, right? It's not something that like it's that's sort of like the basic understanding of these friendships, right? Is that I can remain friends with you if I don't bring up the fact that I have strong feelings about you. And that's fine if I'm getting like laid on a regular basis or like if that romantic and sexual void is and those needs are being fulfilled, but they're not being fulfilled right now. In fact, none of my needs are being fulfilled. My like social, sexual, physical health, mental health. I'm not seeing a therapist. I haven't had a therapist in years. I don't have a neurologist, even though a lot of this has to do with nerve damage. I just had a consistent, like, I just started seeing a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, consistently 4 months ago after not getting anything in California because I forget if I said this in this video or another video. My insurance, which was through the ACA, even though it was a platinum PPO, I was told I couldn't get physical occupational therapy, which is a prerequisite to surgery. Couldn't get occupational therapy on my arm within 50 miles of the city of Los Angeles. So I could get it in the state of California, but I would have to drive to like San Bernardino or something in order to get occupational therapy in California. Like that's how fucked up covered California is and how fucked up the ACA is. It's like, God, I want to write a book so bad. But and here's the other thing, like, I'm gonna just wrap this up now. But when have I ever, like, lied to people? Like, I don't lie to people. I'm the most transparent person that I know. I don't see any use in lying to people. I also manipulate is a word I don't intentionally manipulate people. I mean, there have definitely been women who, like, I tried flirting with them. I don't know, is flirting a form of manipulation? I don't know. I get it. I get why society is so angry towards white men right now. And, like, why I could literally be on fire and people would find a reason to dismiss the significance and urgency of it. But I'm telling you right now, it's wrong. Like, it's not morally right to dismiss me. I am in crisis. I also glad that we are all talking about mental health now, like on a regular basis. I am telling you, this is not about my mental health. This is about my physical health. This is about my shoulder. This is about some really ugly pictures I could show you of how my arm looked like a fucking grapefruit because they basically took an arm that had basically been detached, like, internally from my body at the shoulder, and then they took a metal plate and 9 pins and they reconnected my arm to my shoulder. And then the bone, like the shoulder, actually died from so much internal blood hemorrhaging that day. Like a year later, it died. Something called the vascular necrosis. So I have this thing called complex regional pain syndrome, which is all that pain that I'm talking about. And they actually, when my shoulder died, they had to replace my shoulder. This is all documented in medical reports I have right here. Like, why doesn't anyone believe me? Why isn't anyone helping? Why isn't anyone calling or checking in on me? What the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, here's what I think is going to happen. This is the last thing I'll say. I think I'm going to have to keep doing all these things myself. I have to keep fighting battles for myself that no person should have to fight on their own. And normally, no person would fight on their own. Their families would step in, or their friends would step in. Somebody would help out. But because of my unique situation where I don't have a mom anymore because she's dead from brain cancer, because my dad's such a useless piece of shit and he's a contrarian and an asshole and a narcissist, I'm not going to get the help from my family. I think my female friends, especially the ones, like, I have a few really great male friends, but I don't think, some of them have been great, like Sean's been great, but I don't think they really know what to do. I'll put it that way. I think my female friends are smarter. They're a bit more scattered in terms of geographically where they're located. But I think they realize the severity of this. I think they are a bit confused about the resources that I have or don't have. Also, a lot of them have boyfriends or partners, and so and have never been subject to any sort of physical violence. Not that I would wish that upon them, but they just don't know what the fuck I'm going through. They have no fucking clue. Like, they have nothing that compares to this, so they can't relate. And then they have their own lives, their own personal drama, so plus they want to stay detached from me anyway, because they know that I'm, like, in love with half of them, so. And I'm telling you, like, no, I need you. And yes, it's probably gonna make me even more attracted to you, and I'm gonna have to find a way to shut that down. But I fucking need you. Like, I need you. I need your help. I don't know how many times I have to say that. I made a list of all the things I need help with. And I tried to start listing, like, how much control I have over it. Alright, off the top of my head. Like, that's the other thing. I just keep losing things all the time because I'm so scatterbrained, and when I'm in pain, my first thought is, oh, my arm hurts or my hand hurts. Let me just put something down, and then I lose it. I have to be more mindful of that. Okay, so there's this temporary extreme risk protective order. I've got to deal with that. I've got to write an entire fucking statement to a judge about that. Okay, there are the 3 writing projects I have to do. That's Killing Machine. That's the script. That is, this is less writing, but it's more of a documentary and compiling the footage and editing it. That is, Sometimes You Can't Make It on Your Own. That's documentary. I still want to run the 2026 New York City Marathon. I've got to quit smoking and start running again every single day. I also don't have fucking Bozo the Clown won't give me any money. He won't give me any money, so I miss meals a lot of the time. And it's stuff you don't see. And I don't have enough money to have a gym membership. It's something else. But I gotta return to running and quit smoking. I have to deal with all these lawsuits in California. There's the one I just said about Covered California. There's this whole Sachiko debacle, which, in addition to everything else, I think further strained my relationship with my female friends because. And this is something I'm guilty of saying. Believe all women. Because I really think that we don't listen to women. And, like, we need to do that because they're human beings. And most of the time people don't lie. With this Sachiko woman, she is the female equivalent of my father. She's like a really sick person. I have right here, I'll read part of this to you. My social worker in California called in when I was explaining what was going on, and she called whoever's in charge of investigation of suspected dependent adult / elder abuse. So my social worker called Adult Protective Services on August 29, 2025. Somebody came, a social worker came, and wrote summary of allegation. Client is calling in to report, so that's not true. It was the social worker. Social worker called in to report that me, Dan Levinson, is being verbally abused and harassed by perpetrators who are his roommates. Client has complex regional pain syndrome and lots of pain in his nerves. Client says he is in pain every day and he has, well, this is not true. I said I had metal plates in my shoulder due to accident. Now I have a fucking metal shoulder. partial shoulder replacement surgery. That's another thing I learned looking at the medical reports. I had a full shoulder replacement, I think. I don't know. I can't even fucking read the medical reports. Client says medical treatment is out of control from insurance. Is that what he was trying to write? He's trying to get surgery to remove nerve block. I mean, this guy's first language wasn't English. I remember that. No, I was trying to get nerve blocks at that point. So it should read, client says medical treatment is out of control due to insurance. He is trying to get nerve blocks, but insurance is refusing. Client says he also suffers from depression, anxiety, PTSD, possibly autism. And I was being evicted from my home. Sachiko didn't want me in her house despite being paid, like, I think it was $2,400. So, like, the vast majority of the rent for the house. And all of this was because I wanted to move back to the house where I lived with Antonia, my former wife. Because I felt like I owed her something, and I felt like being in that house was... I felt more connected to my ex-wife. And that was the house on LaSalle Avenue. So the plan was, if I moved back to Jackson Avenue with Sachiko, I'd spend 2 or 3 weeks there, and then I would be able to sign on to the lease for the LaSalle apartment. But everything fell apart, and then Sachiko was like, well, this guy can't give me any more money. Or maybe he can. I'm going to see if I can sue him, because I don't like him, because I think she really hates men. Jesus Christ, does someone please fucking help me? Like, do you have, in the past 40 minutes, the amount of, like, genuine trauma that I have discussed, and the amount of ongoing issues and ways that you could help, like, even if you hated me, if I was the most awful human being on the planet, I wouldn't deserve this kind of treatment. I don't know what to say to you anymore. And the fact, like, I keep thinking this one friend of mine who, like, frankly, like, there was one time I thought we might have sex. Like, once. I've known her since college. But it was clear that this was never going to be, like, there's like a 98% chance this was never going to be anything more than a friendship, and she would never see me romantically because she's just interested in hipsters, and, like, her type is tall and athletic and just traditionally macho and handsome, and I don't fit that mold, and I was never anyone she would ever consider a potential partner. And that is what it is. I think she's beautiful and smart and funny and kind and, like, yeah, I love her. I always loved her. But I also knew from, like, the very beginning, like, she's making it clear she knows we're not just not in the same league, we're probably not even playing the same sport. Like, that was established. And so we had a really solid friendship. And every once in a while, I would try something romantic. Like, I would make her dinner. I made her dinner 2 or 3 times. And there was one time where we got really drunk. And I made her a really delicious dinner. And we were alone. And I thought, she could outdrink me. So I was really drunk. I really thought she might sleep with me. And then I thought, like, hey, it's gonna happen tonight. I'm gonna do something really nice and romantic, and we're gonna be alone, and I'm gonna charm her, and she's gonna be like, you know what? Who needs jocks? Short Jewish guys who are funny and loyal and loving and kind. That's where it's at. But no, we didn't sleep together that night. We had a beautiful, wonderful evening. Like a really wonderful evening. I would call it romantic if it weren't so platonic. It was memorably beautiful for me. It was like one of the nicest memories I've ever had with a woman or in general. Anyway, so this woman, we were able to maintain a friendship for a long time. I moved to California. I think we had two conversations when I was in California. We had two conversations on the phone. And every conversation I have with my friends now, maybe it's just because of where we're at in life, and it seems to be happening with everyone that everybody's starting families, and so sometimes it's like, oh, that's the last conversation I ever have with this person. Our friendship's ending because they have other priorities in life, and friendship is not one of them. So it felt like I might never speak to her again. And then again, I was evicted last September and homeless and had half a functioning body and figured I was going to die. And again, like, I don't, like, I'm not saying I was on death's door, but I'm saying, like, I think there was, like, probably, probably like a 30 to 40% chance I would die, objectively, which is significant, you know. It's not like that's nothing. And so I just started leaving voicemails with women that I knew, like friends of mine, like saying like, never really told you this, but I love you. I think you're incredible. Um, One woman in particular, I said, um, I love you, and I don't care how many children you want. If you want children, I'll give them to you. And I meant it too. She won't talk to me either. I mean, I'm sorry. I know that's probably a lot. But is it really out of the blue? Like, I've suppressed my feelings for so long. Maybe this is why men and women aren't friends. Like, because this always becomes an issue at some point. But it also wasn't like I was very clear, like, not just about my feelings, but about my situation and, like, the fact that I was homeless and I wasn't getting food regularly, and I had nowhere to go, and I was afraid to drive across the country because I'd been hit by a car, and I figured I would die if I tried to drive 3,000 miles across the country. I just kept having this image in my head of me going through my windshield. Why aren't people here for me, man? Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand.